Edward Norton is Pete Seeger. How likely was it that much of the movie-going world would be thinking or saying those words at the end of 2024 and beginning of 2025? Or that Norton's portrayal in the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, would even be leading younger generations to find out more about who Seeger was? Some moviegoers consider Seeger the most sympathetic character in this ensemble piece, even if he is the one with the biggest vested interest in keeping the hero from expressing himself in the loud and brash way the audience is hoping and waiting for. In this Q&A, Norton, who looms large in the awards conversation this year, talks about why he had reservations about tackling real-life material that he felt might be too sacrosanct, and what filmmaker James Mangold said to change his way of thinking. He also praises his primary scene partner, Timothée Chalamet. And in response to a process query, Norton offers a spirited and eloquent defense of why some things about the movie-making process are better left behind closed doors. That's his general philosophy about revealing too much, but in this case, it's also his answer to the question, what would Bob Dylan do? For our earlier Q&A with James Mangold about the film, click here. Many of us in the sort of Dylan aficionado world are surprised, even giving James Mangold some credit for what he's done before, that it would be possible to make a movie that felt real about this scenario and this dynamic. So what were your feelings when this film was brought to you? And did you have complete faith that the period and milieu were something that could be captured on film? Or did you have any moments hesitation about, how real is this movie going to be? I don't know if real is the word I would use. But I absolutely had more than a moment's hesitation. That period and those people, that music, it was all a very big part of the soundtrack of my own young life coming to New York. Song for Woody, I used to play for myself. I used to think that's the narrative of coming to New York, to walk in other people's footsteps. And Dylan's early records from that time in New York, I was very steeped in it, and maybe almost held it too precious. So there was a burden I was carrying, the burden of feeling maybe that this was too sacrosanct, that you don't do this at the same time. Of course it's very tempting, because I love the music and I love the people. And I think Timothy's terrific. I've known him for a while, and I've long thought there's not that many people, I think, that are literally genetically equipped to try to play Bob Dylan. And I knew he could do that. I didn't think no one could do that. But the thing that really got me over was more the way Jim was radically opposed to the idea of a biography, or even the idea of trying to pick the lock and understand Dylan Peresi. He said to me, I'm interested in the cultural anthropology. We know this headline, Dylan plugged in at Newport, and that was the end of the folk scene, and it was the beginning of rock commanding the focus. And he said, why were there such stakes in that? Like, what was going on in the stakes for that as a cultural moment? And he talked about backbuilding from there to assess the stew of people who were colliding with each other and affecting each other that created this moment around this emergent protean talent. And I really liked that. I thought, that's hard, but if you pull it off, you're not only not doing a biopic, what you're really doing is an immersive experience in what a certain time felt like. And that's hard to do. I think that it's hard to abandon a narrative and focus on milieu and characters and relationship and cultural context and show how it produced a moment. This is all a long way of saying that the more I understood what I felt Jim was really engaged with, the more interested I got in it. Now, on the back end of it, objectively I'll say, I am so admiring of Jim's artistic sophistication in pulling that off. Because if you think about it, there's really only 2 acts in this movie. And the truth is, the second act doesn't start until 2/3 of the way through the movie, with that real shift to 1965. And that's wild. It is very difficult to break away from the structural tropes and demands of not only biopics, but conventional filmmaking, and to hold the attention through the collisions of people. Because really all he is doing is this person's talent is propelling him through encounters with people, and those encounters with the archdruid, Pete Seeger, and a competitor or lover, Joan Baez, and an angel, the Sylvie Russo character, and his romance with Johnny Cash, and all these things. It's really wild to make a film that's not about plot in that way, and to leave people feeling that they've understood something.